Hey guys, here. I was going to show you some of the key differences between my final version of this movie slash animation and version 4 of the current animation I'm doing, because back when I first started this, what I would call version 1, way back when I was in high school, probably in 2011, I started doing rough animations and I guess prototype skits of the thing, the fights and the story mode playing, but I didn't feel that was up to par with what I wanted to do, so I scrapped that version and started to version 2, which was more or less the same as versions 3 and to a certain degree 4, where most of the storyline animation layout would be copied. Here, I'm going to click a little bit of it. This wasn't in versions 2 and 3, but this is my old version 4. Some of the properties, as you can see here, it was in 800 by 600 pixels at 30 frames per second. Versions 1, 2, and 3 ran at 24. So this will ultimately be at a smoother layout. The final version is also at 30 frames per second. But most of the things here, this introduction scene, has been copied and pasted from versions 3, 4, and then my final version 5, just because it took a long time to do, and I thought it was relatively cool at the time. So I still think it's smooth enough to work for my final version and on. I've always put an introduction showing how the video layout can change the quality to be higher or lower, or skip right back to the menu. All those have been previous coded iterations of things I've learned. It's very simple things of ActionScript 2. So those were pretty much all the same throughout versions 2, 3, 4, and 5. But skipping to most of these things here you can see how many frames I've put into this animation. This scene alone is 3,200, and if you can count reading text, because as you can see here, these little 2 square things, I like to call them, these are where special sequences happen, where the code kicks in and it would freeze the frame so you can read what the character is saying. And then I have it coded so when you press space, it moves on to the next frame. But in series where there are multiple conversations, like multiple texts, it would just instantly move one frame at a time, even though things in the background would still be moving. I could, to a degree, still call that multiple frames of animation. So if you can really think about it, this scene itself probably has a good 4,000 to 5,000 frames of animation. But from versions probably 2, 3, 4, and 5, the way the storyline starts, not 100% exactly, but like this part, for instance, I decided to add in from a different perspective. I don't know why. I thought it was just a little more entertaining to the viewer to the beginning to kind of hook them. But the way the story plays out right here, I'm not going to spoil too much. I'm just going to kind of skim by and see all the things I had to do to make it the way this is how the animation works, how much work you have to put into it, even just for sprites. I mean, people who draw stuff like this one frame by frame have to do like 45 times the work I have to do. But things like this, these were pretty much the same as for versions 2, 3, 4, and 5, to the point where I literally glanced at the previous version, opened it in the second file like I actually did here, because this is version 5. I just opened it and tried to replicate it, except with smoother animation and better sound syncing and stuff like that. So what you're looking at here is actually version 4, which is the furthest version I've ever gotten to. And what I really wanted to show you here is a quick little iteration of this scene here, where Tails is about to crash. Yes, it's a spoiler. It's already too late to tell you. But it gets to the point right here where he yells Tails because he crashed. But I wanted to show you some key differences between versions 4 and my final version, because in my opinion, I think I've made some dramatic improvements. You can already tell that the background here is somewhat detailed, where you can see some of the things scale back and forward. with the camera to create some of a parallax depth, but I think I did it too much in this version. But I thought it was enough at the time, enough detail to make it look interesting enough just so the movie could keep playing on. But in my new version, or my final version I should say, I've added way more like flora, and it just looks way more alive. And I wish I could animate the flowers, but I kind of didn't want to take the time to do that, because you know how in Sonic games they're always animated. But I took it to the point where he fell down, and you still get that parallax effect just a little bit. But what I was really working for this final version was just, oops, don't want to screw that up. But just everything to be smoother, better, and more dynamic. Like here, I'm just gonna play this one super fast.
No!
You see right there, Tails exploded, and the tornado basically just vanishes into the ground. Well, Tails is the last remaining thing, and then Sonic here, as I do one frame at a time. See, little trickery of animation there. It's a motion tween with his animation kicking in. If I were to play that normally, it just looks like you ran up to him. But if you do it frame by frame, he'll run in place, because the Adobe Flash just tells you to do it that way. But that's how far I would have gotten into my new version. But if you were to see my new version here, which I'll play super fast, it's in a high resolution. There's a little bit more of the lag because of wave files, but things here I like to see.
No!
This is how far I got. It'll zoom over. It should. Oops, that's not supposed to happen. Sonic disappears and it pans over to Tails. But as you clearly saw in there, I added like Tails flying off, which I thought created way more of a dramatic impact. And I think he flies away a little too fast, but you know, with the velocity of what you saw in the previous scene, which I'm going to spoil here for a second, they're falling at an extreme speed, which I'll play for a millisecond. So yeah, they're falling really, really fast, because, you know, from high in the sky, you can gain a lot of speed falling down. Anyway, but I wanted to actually see the tornado be destroyed and flown off screen, except for one piece manages to roll right in front of Sonic, where he does look a little freaked out. But I thought that'd just make the animation look better, more lifelike to a degree. But that's probably like one of my more prouder moments in animation. I'm happy to see that I haven't gotten too bad at I haven't. Let me just recall and say this real quick. Version 4 started 2.5 years ago, and I ended it 6 months ago, and I started this new version, which I've been working on for a while. I have been taking a lot of breaks because I'm a lazy son of a bee, and I just like playing Skyrim all fucking day and other games, but mainly Skyrim. But I'm finally back in animating, and most of this I did probably within 2 to 3 hours, which I say isn't that bad because I had to think. I was watching YouTube and I had to think of the background. In fact, I was actually thinking about turning it into a snow scene, like in the mountains, but they would have fallen a long time if they were already in the mountains. So I kind of threw that idea out the window and went back to Elite Force Zone kind of concept and just worked it off from there. But when he gets to the scene where Tails is over here, I actually wanted to see that there was more than just always open, and that they were near a cave or something. So I animated this little chunk over here just to make it look like there was an entrance to a cave that they barely, like this cliff area that they barely missed when they hit the ground. But yeah, that's all what I really wanted to show you guys. That I'm actually working on this. In fact, I'm going to render this and upload it as soon as possible, and probably keep working on it while it's uploading. But hopefully it'll look a lot better than the version I was working on. I know this version got into dialogue, which is really, really stupid, by the way. But yeah, that's like right where the fight will begin. Spoilers again. But yeah, I'm just letting you know I'm animating. I wanted to kind of show you guys how it worked. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully it entertained you. I'll probably throw some background music, even though some music will be playing in the background too. I'll just edit it to tune in there. But yeah, I'm working on it. It's a lot better than before. It'll play in 720p pixels. 3 frames per second, which is pretty good for animation standards. And the way that it works in 720p is when I render it for YouTube instead of like Flash websites like Newgrounds or DeviantArt, it'll easily transport into 1080p. So when I render that out, it'll actually look better. But that's the main reason why I switched from 720p to from 800 to 600, which is a square resolution. Which is in some way why I had those black bars there, which I kind of hated. But yeah, alright. I already said bye, so I should say bye for real. And I'll see you guys on whatever next video I decide to upload. See ya.